Hello, St. Joan of Arc families. Today our readings focus on two widows. These are women who have experienced the loss of their husbands, which in their times means the loss of all their support, both in their hearts and in their lives. They didn't just lose their life partner, but they lost their whole sense of safety in the world, their homes, their livelihood, their whole way of life. And yet these women, who have lost everything, choose to trust and give. And this leads to our question. Can we read it together?
What does it mean to trust in God?
With this question in our mind, we hear the story of the poor widow who gives everything she has, told through the eyes of a young woman who knew her. Our storyteller is Louisa Darr.
I know her. The widow a preacher from Galilee was talking about. We walked past her every week as we went to temple. She looked like a pile of rags sitting on the temple steps, head lowered, begging for the coins from those who went inside. My mother always pulled me near, never looking at her as if our bad fortune would stain us if we got too close. But one day I pulled away from my mother and said, "Peace to you." The beggar looked up and I knew her, the woman with the eggs. Let me tell you the story. One day, I had stayed late at the market laughing with Shafia, and so I was hurrying home when I dropped the basket of eggs I had been sent to get. I saw that 3 of the eggs had been broken. I started to cry. How my mother would scold me over the loss of 3 eggs. Most nights we had enough food to keep our bellies full, but we never had much to spare, and surely nothing to waste. I began to gather the unbroken eggs when a silver-haired woman appeared and asked me why I was crying. When I told her, she left me and went into her house. She returned with 3 eggs. She tucked the eggs into my basket, then turned and walked away without saying a word. This was the woman who was now begging on the temple steps. I told my mother that I recognized the old woman. She was from our village. What had happened that she was here staying alive by begging? Finally, my mother told me the story. This woman had never been blessed with children, but she had a husband, a good man. Like most of us in the village, they were poor, but they had a cow to give milk and a few hens to give eggs. Then her husband died. First she sold the cow, then the hens, but she couldn't work the land alone. She disappeared from the village. Now here she was begging on the temple steps. I pestered my mother to give her something. Surely we could spare 1 coin. But she refused. So I decided I would give the widows 2 small coins I had gotten from my grandfather when I turned 13. I kept them close, dreaming of how I would spend them on a sweet or a small plaything. But she needed them more than I did. Maybe she would use them to buy food or a place to sleep. And so I gave her my coins. When she looked into my eyes, I knew that she remembered me, the girl with the broken eggs. She smiled, and I felt so proud knowing that I could help her in return. During the service, I saw the widow enter the temple and drop my coins into the collection box. The beggar was giving my coins to the poor. I was outraged. How could she give away my money? Later, we stopped as usual to listen to Jesus, whose words seemed to hold more truth than what we had heard inside the temple. Jesus was talking about the widow. He said that she had given more than all the rich men put together. Well, yes, if it hard for me to give away my precious coins, how much harder it must have been for her, who had no food and no place to live. But she did give them, and cheerfully. And then I understood why Jesus so prized her gift. I remember the teachings of Elijah. Don't be afraid to share what you have, our God says. If you trust in me, you will have enough. The woman with the eggs trusted God and gave gladly from her heart. And she was free.
In our telling of the gospel story, the girl is outraged that the poor widow gives away her coins. Her precious coins! But as the words of Jesus and Elijah enter her heart, she begins to see and understand. The widow was poor, but she was not afraid. She trusted in God and gave, perhaps helping others who might be even more in need. And she was free. Trust in God, help others, and be free.